Okay, so this is a continuation of chapter 11. Um, and this is about populations. And this is the part of evolution that we can see, you guys. So this is why we need to understand evolution. One, for example, with medicine. A lot of our medicines come from living organisms or are even living. For example, like fungus fighting bacteria. So if these things are evolving and changing, we need to understand how they do that so that we can better fight the diseases that are living, that are affecting us, okay, like bacteria, for example. And then also think about your agriculture, so farming. So bugs, funguses, different things eat the same things we eat. So, now where's your packet? Okay, cool. Okay. It's right next to him to answer your question. Okay. Okay. So anyway, I want you guys together with me. You need to do that later, okay? Because you were absent. Okay. So join me right here. Okay. So anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is this is the stuff we can see and that we need to understand for our own survival. Back to the crops of fields. So we have corn growing, and we spray it with pesticides so that it kills the other bugs that are going to eat our corn, right? And then once again, there are some bugs, listen to me carefully here, that don't die because of the poison we spray on the plants that's supposed to kill them. And then those bugs then reproduce with other ones that didn't die. And so then we get a population of bugs that are immune or resistant to our pesticides. Does this make sense, you guys? Yeah, I got a few of you paying attention. I got a lot of blank stares of people wandering off about other issues in their lives. Try and focus. So that's why this is so important for you guys to understand. All right, moving on. Now, aren't those the happy feet penguins? They are the emperor penguins. Well, those guys, when they're taking care of their eggs, they don't eat either. So, okay. Now, I just want you guys to get the normal distribution graph. You guys see, you're going to write bell-shaped curve there, and then in bold. And then I want you guys to get the graph drawn and the mean labeled. And we'll talk about what this means. No, just get your graph down and the bold on top. Okay, so bell-shaped curves, you guys, are when the average is the most abundant. Now, right here we're just saying range of variables. This is just an example. What about if I put your guys' grades in here? Percentages. You know what I mean? 0 to 100. Or F's to A's. Or whatnot. Okay? Typically, classrooms fall under a bell-shaped curve. And an average, a C, is supposed to be average. That's how it's been, designed for you guys. It doesn't always occur. And a better than bell average is even, or a normal distribution is even better. Like if we didn't have any F's, say. But right now, this would say we have a lot of C's, very little A's, and very little F's. Okay? But what depends what we're talking about. This also could be height, human height. And this is about true. The average height, for human beings. And then we have less real smaller people and less real tall people. Okay, so moving on now. The next one shows how natural selection can change. Well, let's get that down first, sorry. Get microevolution down first. Okay, so again, I want just the graphs down, but this time you need to label your axis, or did they label it for you guys? So this is directional selection, range of variable, they have not labeled it. So you need to write low drug resistance and high drug resistance. You need the dotted graph is before, a nice normal distribution, and then over many generations, it shifted. You need the arrow in there. So get all that down on your graph. Okay, so the average has changed and in one direction, right? So it's directionally changed. So now most of them were they didn't have drug resistance. So we gave, say this is bacteria, and we're giving them an antibiotic. You're changing the environment in the body. You're taking the drugs, every 4 hours, and you're changing the environment. Most of the bacteria are dying, but some are surviving, and they're resistant to the drugs. So now the survivors have their baby bacterias, right? It's just asexual reproduction. They're splitting in half. And the new bacteria are also drug resistant. So now we have more bacteria that are resistant against this drug. So to treat this person, we're going to have to give them a different antibiotic. And this becomes a huge problem. Then pretty soon we're unable to fight these bacteria if they're all resistant. So that is also why they want you guys to take all your antibiotics. If you feel better and then you don't finish your antibiotics, you're going to have more surviving bacteria in your body that are now resistant to the drug. Yes, this is true. Okay, so what do you guys think the next graph's going to look like? Look at the title. What do you think it's going to look like? And you will copy the graph. Okay, so this graph is showing you the population of large gull size. Hear that darn thing. The gulls, these are types of flies. Just trust me, there's no picture of flies. I have pictures of some animals here, but what are they for the story? So I have wasps and woodpeckers. What do they have to do with the gull flies? They eat them. So they're the predators of the gull flies. So imagine this fly, and before the wasps and the woodpeckers started eating them, they had a nice normal distribution. You can see that with the pink dotted line. Okay? But what happened then is the ones that were larger, the larger flies, were preyed upon by what? Who is eating the larger ones? The woodpecker. Who is eating the smaller ones? So what's happening to the mean? Yeah, what's the other name for the mean? Average. So now, here the average size is the most abundance is the in-between size, right? And this is kind of interesting. I'm not sure what the deal is. I don't know if maybe the gull flies can hide between crevices so the birds can't get them, but then the wasps can if they're really small. Okay, so anyway, this is a type of selection though. Okay, look at the next graph. What do you guys think the next graph's going to look like? So get your graph down, and I appreciate people offering information. I don't appreciate people, trying to tease or make fun of those people that are actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. So this is called disruptive selection, where it's worse to be average or the in-between. So make sure you get brown and blue on the axis down, or the axis down there. I don't care, just make it work. So this is about a population of buntings. That's a type of bird. The ones that have more of this contrasting blue, bright blue, they do rather well. And then there's some that barely have any blue. They're more drab. They have more of the brown. They also do rather well. So what's the hypothesis here? The ones in the middle aren't doing as well, but Why do you think the blue ones are doing well? The sky. They stand out better. What do we know about birds and prettiness and feathers and colors? Okay, so these guys are attracting more mates. Are they passing their genes on better? Okay. What about the ones that are more brown, mostly brown? They can camouflage better. So maybe these blue ones don't live very long, but maybe they live a couple seasons. They get to mate 4 times per season, you know, before they're eaten. Okay, they lived a short life, but they were able to pass on a bunch of their genes. Oh, birds, other bigger birds do, snakes. What else eats bright colored birds? Like little, they're up in the trees. Monkeys, maybe? I don't know. Okay, so anyway, what about these guys over here, though? They're camouflaged. They're not getting eaten as much, but maybe they're not getting selected by the girls. But if they just get to mate every year or two and they live a long life, they're also passing their genes on. So the ones in between, they're not getting enough camouflage. The girls don't like them that much either. They're not doing as well. Okay, so natural selection isn't the only thing that affects how populations change. Another thing is gene flow. So copy down gene flow. Okay, so gene flow, just like it sounds like water flowing, water's moving, and so same thing, genes will be moving. This is just the definition. Occurs when individuals join new populations and reproduce. So for example, look at this map of bald eagles on the East Coast of the United States. So over here you have bald eagles down in Florida and in the South here, and these ones are just breeding kind of within this circle, but hey, look at these ones that are over here. They can easily flow, right? Their genes can move to this population. They can easily, you know, mate with these ones. So there's overlapping. And so what we see is the genes that were maybe just found here are making it all the way up here. So the genes are flowing from one population to another because of the overlapping. Yes. Okay, so, no, this is just showing the East Coast. We have our own populations over here. And it works the same way, all the way up to Alaska. Okay, so gene flow is one way populations can change. Another way is purely random. So you can see on the top, I want the blue. Genetic drift definition. So you're skipping a bunch, but we're going to genetic drift. A change in allele frequencies just due to chance. So there's just plain randomness to how populations could change. And one of these is called the bottleneck effect. And it's just the idea here that a population has been squeezed down. Drastically, a population has decreased in size. For example, the cheetahs. You guys have probably heard of the cheetahs are, you know, really endangered. This happened because of overhunting and also habitat loss. So it's not like, you know, hunters were picking certain cheetahs to shoot. Any cheetah would do for the hunters, okay, to get the coats. And the same thing with just randomness of where humans moved in and took over space. So this example is using the bottle, and here was all the different, you know, cheetah genes, you know, that they could have. It could be peas even, different colors of peas. But the idea here is who survived, randomly who survived. Well, we can lose diversity, can't we? You guys see that? We did get some yellow. We got more green. And yeah, we got a yellow. Well, this is a continuation. And then no red at all. So sometimes we lose the alleles, the genes, just randomly. Okay, that's called a bottleneck. I do want you to get down Founder's effect. So copy down Founder's effect. This one is easier for us to understand, like a founding fathers, the founding population. So it occurs when a few individuals start a new population. So you can say that about America. We have founding populations when people have migrated here. And in the very beginning, for the Europeans, with the pilgrims coming over here, it was random what genes they brought. For example, with like hair color, eye color. Okay, whatever they brought, and that's what was available for the next generations for when they were making the European people immigrants right to America right then. Okay? So, a good example is this bird collecting flowers to build a nest out of. While he's flying, he drops seeds and he makes a new population. Okay, the seeds fall. Well, randomly he didn't grab an orange one, so we've lost the orange. Notice that natural selection and the genetic drift, this randomness, decreases variation normally. Mutation's the only thing that increases variation. Okay, so we're gonna stop here. Again, if you'd like to finish this one, you can get it straight from the book. Look at all these traits there. And we're gonna move to the next one. 11.4, oh, we're skipping, correct? So we're going to 11.5. So I know this lecture's getting long, just hang in there. Okay, now we're going to move to macroevolution. Macro, what does it mean? Hello, I heard it. Big, really large. So before we were studying small changes, we could see them happening in a population. Now we're going to study things we can't see, but we can see evidence to, like the fossil record. So this is where new species are coming from. So first we need isolation. So where's that go? Reproductive isolation box? You guys see a spot for it? Okay, so check this out. For us to make different species, you're going to have to isolate the gene pool. If a species continues to be moving around freely and the environment's changing, but everybody's still breeding together, then they're going to change slowly together. It's just going to show, you guys listen to me please, you're going to slowly see an organism change. But to get more species, then you have to have them being separated, like on islands, for example. You know, the finches migrated to the Galapagos Islands. Some got stuck on one island, different ones on a different island. The environment was different. They no longer interbred with each other. They're going to evolve independently. That's what you need for new species to arise. So if you look at this cladogram, this big tree, this back down here is your ancestral primate. And this one has a graph on it. 60 million years ago, the data is suggesting that there was a primate type of ancestor, that all these species, and you guys, one of these lineages, like New World monkeys, those are all the different types of monkeys that live in the Americas, right? South America, Central America, North America with Mexico. We don't have any monkeys up here. But so there's, you know, probably about 1,000 different species represented on there that are still alive today. Some have went extinct. But there had to be isolation. Now look, old world versus new world. That is supported biogeography as well. We can clock, we can go back to see, well, when did Africa and South America separate. You guys remember the map of Pangaea? They were together. It fits together. Look at Africa and South America. Look at Central America and the top of Africa. Okay? All right. Moving on. Okay, get this word speciation down. Okay, so the definition of a species. Guys, hang with me, please. The definition of the species is that two or more species arise from one existing. So this is probably about 100 million years ago. And look we got mammals, birds, reptiles are both this lineage with the snakes and the turtles. When you see them branch out, like right here, I'm talking over people, you guys, and all this is being recorded. So let's listen carefully. It is embarrassing. Okay, so right here is a common ancestor that lived a long, long time ago where lizards and snakes branched off. Do you guys realize, just like the whales, snakes also have back hip bones that aren't being used anymore. Okay? Snakes had back hip bones, right? But they don't have them anymore. Okay, I want behavioral isolation down the number 1 box. Come on now. Okay, so behavioral isolation you might not have thought about. It's easy for you guys to understand geographical isolation. We'll get to that in a second. But behavioral isolation, is basically with Happy Feet. He was excluded from the population because he was doing this dance, right? He wasn't attracting friends, he wasn't attracting mates, okay? So some sort of mutation. So this is behavioral isolation. I don't know if you guys know fireflies, when they light up and they make that rhythm and pattern, it's kind of like a song. They're attracting mates. And again, if there's a mutation and they're not blinking correctly, they're not going to attract the mate. So it could be something simple, just like behavioral. Okay? Yes? Mostly the East Coast is fireflies. I've only seen them a couple times. I've never seen them around here. So the next kind is the geographic, which you guys normally understand. Okay, so this is isolation that occurs through geography. So we have an earthquake, a big fault, a big crack happened, we separated a population. A flood, the river changed courses, any type of way we cut populations in and isolate them. Okay? Well, that just is changing the environment, and just simple building fences and roads could isolate, separate groups into 2 different populations. Sometimes they're slow, sometimes they're quick. Okay, you don't have to copy temporal. Just want to mention it though. Temporal, folks, up here. Temporal, it's not temperature. This means time right now. And so it's the timing of the reproductive periods. So you guys might know tigers are very solitary. They have to find each other. If the 2 tigers, a male and female, find each other, and she's not, in her estrus cycle, she's not, can't be reproductive at that time, it's not going to work. I don't know if you guys realize, flowers, right? Some of them will close up in the morning, some will close up in the evening, and, the pollen, if the petals are all covering this, the pollen's not going to get out, or it's not going to be open to receive pollen. Remember, the flowers are reproductive organ. So timing can isolate things also. Okay, one more. Okay, so this is evolution has patterns, and there's different patterns that you guys need to be aware of. Yes. So the ice melting definitely can isolate like polar bear populations. So this is when evolution moves towards similar traits, but in unrelated species. So for example, the whole world, we have an ice age, then we have a melting, and now there's water everywhere. So we have fins developing, you know, on fish. That's very different than fins developing from whales. Okay? Streamlined bodies, for example. Okay? So look at the arrows when you think of convergent. Okay, divergent. Let's get divergent down. So, the kit fox, you can see some differences with the coat, but it's not so obvious. The kit fox is way smaller than the red fox as well. We know there's a common ancestor. I don't know, I would say thousands of years ago. Okay, we're not in millions, we're getting closer, but there's still speciation. The kit fox and the red fox won't mate anymore. They're too distantly related now. So this is towards different traits in closely related species. Okay, moving on. The kit fox is about that big, the red fox is about that big. Okay, this one is very important. With this example, you have a moth. It's difficult to see. Look up here carefully. This is a very long mouth part. It ends way down here. Okay, and it's like a straw. They suck nectar. And then this is an orchid flower, and that's the tubule down the orchid. Okay, plants don't need nectar for themselves. They need nectar to do what? So they want bugs or they're animals. They want birds, insects to come visit them, right? Pick up the pollen, right, off the anthers, go to another one, get more nectar, and they're helping them, you know, move their pollen around, right? Helping pollination occur. So check this out. This guy, I don't know if originally the idea was make this tube longer so then the bug has to go in a little farther and he gets more pollen on them. But this thing has elongated, and then as this elongates, this has elongated. Now it goes over generations again, natural selection. The ones with the longer mouth part were able to survive and reproduce. Famous examples with Nemo, right, and the sea anemones, right? And same thing here, your anemones sting, but he has a protective coat on him so it doesn't sting him, but he can hide from predators. Nemo, do you guys remember this example? He's a messy eater, and when he eats, he drops little pieces and he feeds the anemone. This is called a mutualistic relationship where they are helping each other. Another example to put in the box for beneficial relationships is the ants and the acacia trees. So get down the example, ants and acacia trees. So look up here. William, you with me? Acacias do have these big thorns, but actually they're houses for the ants. There's the hole he climbs in and out of. The acacia tree feeds, secretes food for the ants, and has a house to live in. What do the ants do? Well, a big caterpillar comes along or some other leaf-eating insect like those leaf cutter ants, and there's vibrations, and inside the little house, I don't know if they're doing nose goes or whatever, a few of them go out and just tear the hell out of whatever was going to eat the plant. Okay? It's the way it is. I can't help it. I can't water it down. Okay? I don't even think they eat it, but you see, you can watch this. Look on YouTube or search her video. They come out and they'll rip apart whatever's trying to eat that acacia tree. This is in the tropics. Okay, now, predator-prey. See the arms race? Join me quickly. We are so almost done. Evolutionary arms race. Get the bold. Records. Shells left behind. We see populations have changed. This is coevolution. mutation in the shell gave it a little knobby thing, like a spike. The shells were getting thicker. This was a great adaptation because the crab didn't eat them. But then what did the crab do? The crabs that had variation had stronger, bigger claws. They survived. So we're getting bigger and tougher in response to each other. This is analogous to the arms race. Think of the Cold War. Russia built some cool rockets. We had to build some more cool rockets. Right? I don't know about that definition of cool. But either way, it went up and up and up and up. You drive through Hawthorne. It is ridiculous. Those are empty ammunition. What are those, bunkers? Is that what you call them? As far as you can see. That was built during the arms race. Okay? So, same thing happens here in evolution. Okay, one more thing. It's extinction, I think. Ooh, we're almost done. Hang in there. I agree. All right. On the proficiency test, from what I've been told, there's always something about extinction. You guys must know that extinction is a natural process. This globe can only support so many things. Some are going to outcompete others. Some are going to go extinct. It's called background extinction when it's kind of normal situations happening. It's at a very low rate, and this is normal. However, the Earth has had mass extinctions. They're rare from time to time. So let's get that one down. So abbreviate, get the bold all down in mass extinctions. So can you guys find the mass extinction on this chart that had to do with the dinosaurs? Does anybody know how many millions of years ago the dinosaurs went extinct? Here's 200 to a 0. What do you think this is right here? It's about 65, I think. You're close. Million years ago is when the dinosaurs went extinct. Okay? I think way back here at like, I think about 480 or something. That's right before the Cambrian explosion. That's the biggest mass extinction we've had. You can see that by the chart. And the Cambrian explosion, that term explosion, meant explosion of all the different life. Because think about it, every time there's a mass extinction, there's lots of space left over. Whoever survived could fill into those niches, right? And that the Cambrian explosion is the explosion of animals that came after that mass extinction. Okay, so it destroys many species on a global level. Lots of times it's a catastrophic event. This was an asteroid hitting us from the dinosaurs. Back in the Cambrian explosion had to do with pre-Pangea, when the continents came apart and then smashed back together, and that caused a problem. Lost shoreline. Think of how fertile your shorelines are. A lot of different animals live on the shores. Well, if you just decrease the shorelines on Earth, by 50%, you're going to lose a lot. And there's been 5 in the last 600 million years. That's what we see there. Okay, the last thing we need to write is actually on the board here. So just ignore that bold. In your punctuated equilibrium box, do you see it? They forgot about gradualism. The 2 main patterns are punctuated equilibrium, so write quick starts and stops. They're quick changes. So you don't see gradual changes versus gradualism, which is slow changes occur. And you guys were talking about abbreviations. Miss Coop never writes changes. I always do that little delta sign. Use it, go for it. So the picture with the butterflies, gradualism, the butterflies slowly changed, and we got a yellow one and a bright, reddish one. Down here, the other graph, punctuated equilibrium, it didn't happen gradually. You can see, you go up here, all of a sudden, a quick change, and the darker ones died off, and the oranger ones survived. We can see gradualism with giraffe fossils, where the neck got longer and longer and longer. Other ones, there are changes like this. Maybe the tallest things all died really fast, so now they're just short left over. So both patterns can happen. Okay, you guys survived.